So if nothing changes, beginning July 19th, we're going to be on trial. And at that time, your presence will be
Crucial.
yeah, most necessary. I thank you for coming all the times you've come, but that's when we would really need you to be here, is beginning July 19th at a trial.
Is this a federal matter now or not?
Nope, this remains here in this courthouse.
It's an Ulster County allegation.
This is a New York State
New York State.
case in which will be tried in the Ulster County Courthouse. The judge is Judge Richard McNally. He is actually from Rensselaer County, but he was assigned to handle this case when we moved for, and Judge Williams recused himself from handling the matter. So thus far I can say he's been fair in all of his rulings to us. So I have no concerns about Judge McNally at this point handling this case. So,
What was your remark about the pistol?
What about the pistol permit? What's that got to do with?
Yeah.
well, honestly, it is somewhat of a side matter, but it's something that I want to get to the bottom of, which is whatever happened with
Right.
with Ismail's pistol permit,
Right.
because we still don't have a clear answer on where it went. There was an application filed, but we don't know what happened with it. According to the district attorney's office, it was never acted on. It was never granted nor denied. It just sat. It just was there.
Back
So-
in saner days, he told me that he had a pistol permit. This was back when they were paroling the projects down there, and he said he had a pistol permit.
Who said that?
Yes, ma'am.
No, I had a security license, never had a pistol permit.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So what the judge is offering isn't even really an offer. It's a maybe I'll do this, and by the way, you're waiving your right of appeal.
Well, so what it is
I heard
that
that.
is. Let me be clear about that. What he said is, on the record, he said, "I'm not promising that will be the sentence, but I can tell you that." And every judge will say this, I will sentence you to this, to what I promise you, unless I find something out in the pre-sentence investigation process that makes me have to say, no, I can't do that. And if that were to happen, then any defendant who pleads guilty on a promised sentence, if the judge then says, I can't give you that sentence, the defendant can withdraw their plea. And everybody goes back. It's as if it never happened.
Oh.
So that's essentially what the judge was saying, that you are right, he didn't quite say, I will give you the minimum sentence, but he all but said it.
What is that he promised?
It's the minimum sentence is 3.5 years state prison plus 2.5 years of post-release supervision or parole. That is the actual minimum that he could give on the top count of the indictment, the highest count, which is a Class C violent felony. So that is in essence what he's saying. And before if there were to be a plea, there'd be only a plea with an actual promise. And of course, the judge always reserves the right, because what happens is after a plea, an investigation occurs, the probation department talks to people, they look into things, and then they give a report to the judge. He reviews that report, and before he actually sentences. And that would be his opportunity to say, oh, I didn't know this or I didn't know that. That changes things.
And then at that point, you can retract that.
If he said that, then you can retract your plea. In terms of the appeal, every plea in this courthouse, and frankly every plea that I'm familiar with, involves a waiver of your right to appeal, because essentially what is happening is everyone wishes for the matter to be concluded on these terms. So it is almost never done that you plead guilty, get the benefit of a plea bargain, if you will, and then turn around and appeal to the appellate division. There also are almost generally no grounds for such an appeal because you've pled guilty. So there's very little to appeal on,
But that's
that's
why
a matter of course.
There's also why 95% of the people who are in prison on pleas, because they can't appeal. So when they say plea bargain, you can also counter with can't you counter?
I have attempted already. So what happened today, again, and when I say I countered, I was attempting to get the district attorney's office to offer a plea to a lesser count, something other than the top count of the indictment. They have rejected that request. And that's what happened today. So with the district attorney remaining with his right, which is a plea to the top count, the only thing the judge can do is say, well, it's up to the DA which count you plead to. That's Judge Gilpatrick. With the DA insisting on a plea of the top count, the judge can only do what he can do, which is say, I can give you the minimum sentence on that count.
Can you be explicit about that count, the Class C?
So there are actually 3 Class C violent felonies that are all the top counts. The first count in the indictment is criminal sale of a firearm in the 2nd degree. That is being treated as the top count. That is sale of more than 5 firearms. But there are actually 2 other Class C violent felonies lower down in the indictment, both of which allege possession of a loaded firearm. And each of those could carry with them up to 15 years in prison. So, that's the top count, basically.
Can you tell us what's going on with the discovery?
Discovery is largely complete. I'm going to be back on Monday again with Ismail to review some last videos that we still haven't had a chance to review, but we have reviewed, 80% of it, probably of the videos, and they're voluminous. And thus far, the judge ordered the DA to provide us with certain other information, and they've been providing that information as well. Information about the confidential informant, information about the interactions reports that were written up on the interactions that went on prior to the first sale. That was provided to us as well in discovery. And what actually we discussed today and the judge talked about is that once he issues his decision on an omnibus motion, which I'm to file soon.
What is that exactly?
That's basically any motion that I want to make pre-trial. I file in one big motion called an omnibus motion. The people will respond, and then the judge will issue a decision. And at that point, we are basically at that point, his offer will be off the table, and we'll be getting ready for trial. And the judge also directed in our conference that at that point, the DA will have to turn over to us all of those materials that we've had to come to court to view. They're going to actually give it to us at that point because we'll be readying for trial.
On the
I'd like to
videos.
follow up
Yeah.
with the issue of pleas. You had stated that you countered with a lesser plea.
Yes.
Does that indicate that you believe this case cannot prevail in trial?
Well, I'm not. No, that's not that is not the case. But in terms of what I can discuss about our strategy, it's very, very little, honestly, because anything that I share outside of between Ismail and myself is not protected by the attorney-client privilege. So I can't really get into my whole analysis of the case. But I can tell you that I'm always interested in getting the best offer for a plea that I can possibly get, and that's
regardless of whether you feel that.
regardless. I want the best options that we can get. So.
Do the videos show the informant also, or is that not?
He appears on
recorded?
some of them. He is generally wearing the camera, so you don't see him
right.
oftentimes. You
Right.
hear him, and sometimes you see him.
And this is something that people should know is when somebody's trying to entrap you, you won't know that they have got you on camera. Just telling you this to make that explicit.
So that's where we stand. We don't have a return date to come back to court at this point until July 19th.
That's the trial.
That's the trial. There is likely to be a pretrial conference date, but it hasn't been set yet. And so at this point, the date to keep in mind is July 19th. That's the date trial will begin. And we'd appreciate all of your help in showing up and support.
With 3 or 4 people each. Who
Yes,
we'll
we
give
really have to
cookies
start
to.
building for
Cookies.
that.
Yeah, we gotta build.
There'll be cookies.
We can do that at the fundraisers.
Which courtroom would that be?
We can do
I
that at the
expect
fundraisers.
we're going to be in that
Get
courtroom
commitments.
on the 2nd floor of the main courthouse.
The first one we were at.
Yes, the big courtroom. That's where I anticipate the entire trial will likely take place. Certainly, at a minimum, jury selection always occurs in the large courtroom.
Thanks a lot, Josh.
Okay. Everybody? Thank
Yeah,
you.
the final question, why did we have so little notice about this one? Did they just come up with this like 3 days
I
ago or
got a
something?
letter last week
Really?
informing us. We had a telephone conference about 2 weeks ago in which the judge said, well, if there's something to talk about, why don't I set a date and I'll come down and we'll talk about it. And then I got a letter saying that that date would be today. And I let Ismail know probably last week, I guess. Yep.
Yeah, no, we knew about it immediately, I think, after Ishmael. I just was wondering why they can do it with such little notice.
That's all. It was just a conference.
Right.
It was
Okay.
to discuss basically what he put on the record. So,
Right, okay.
all right.
Thank you.